there's still the scientific question that remains, which is, to what degree can you accurately predict people's performance? And to what degree does that reflect positively or negatively on your psychological concepts? And then there's the actual practical utility of potentially offering to schools, to universities, and to workplaces in general, the probability of selecting people with an above average chance of succeeding. It's even more complicated, say, if you're selecting not so much entry-level employees in a company, because maybe you tilt yourself there more towards the possibility of bringing more people in and letting them fail or succeed in the job. But let's say you're replacing a management team at a medium to large size corporation. You know, if you bring in managers that are incompetent, not only are they going to fail, which is obviously not very good for them, and the failure rate among managers is very high. It exceeds 65, I think it's 65% of managers, I believe that's correct, add zero or negative net value to the companies. It's something like that. The failure rate in managerial positions is overwhelming. And the problem with bringing someone into a managerial or an executive position, even worse, who isn't competent to play that role, is that they can wipe out the careers of everyone that they're supervising. And in the case of, say, large companies, they can bring the whole damn company down. And so it's not like the ethic of people deserve an equal chance, let's say, to fail and succeed, isn't a very practical ethic when you're putting someone in a high demand position where the consequences of failure can be overwhelming, not only for that person, but for all the people that they happen to be, whose destiny they happen to be involved in determining. And so then you might say, if you could come up with a selection process that would increase the probability of hiring an above average manager from 50-50 to 60-40 or 70-30, maybe you're actually ethically compelled to use that. And in fact, by law, this is particularly the case in the United States, you're required by law to use the most effective, valid, reliable, and non-discriminatory selection process that currently exists in order to select your employees. And one of the things that's going to happen to employers in the next 10 years is they're going to get a very nasty shock for using interviews, because the data on unstructured interviews indicates quite clearly that that they're discriminatory, partly because they for example, if you're tall and assertive and good looking and charming, then you're much more likely to do well in an interview, but that doesn't necessarily have any bearing whatsoever on the probability that you'll succeed in the position. And so, and not only that, the predictive validity of unstructured interviews is very low. It's about 0.12. It's something like that, which means that if you just pick people randomly for success or failure, let's say you'd have a 50-50 chance of predicting whether someone was going to be a success or a failure. It's just a coin toss. And then if you used an unstructured interview, you'd get that up to 56-44, which is slightly better, but it's by no means, it's not even close to the accuracy that you could get, for example, if you just used a standard test of conscientiousness, which would give you a correlation of about 0.25 with say, managerial productivity. And